Joining me right now is Ohio Congressman. He is chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Mike Turner. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for being here this morning.
Good morning, Maria.
Your reaction to these charges against Hunter Biden?
I think what's so startling is not just the debaucherous lifestyle that Hunter Biden was leading, but that when you read this indictment and look at these so-called expenses, which was really just his outrageous lifestyle that he tried to deduct or set off against this income, is that there's no business activity. Where is the Hunter Biden business? Why was he paid millions of dollars from people in Russia, China, Romania, Ukraine, and yet there's still no business activity? And that's, I think, what Jason Smith is saying. He's saying that as we go forward with this investigation, we need to find out, which this indictment does not touch, is why was he paid these millions of dollars? This is looking more like criminal activity than business activity. And where did this money go?
Yeah, and we don't understand why he has taken in so many millions from adversaries. What I'm trying to understand is, has it dictated policy? Has it actually dictated the way Joe Biden deals with China after taking millions from communist China? That really makes America vulnerable.
Right, and that's where the question goes to an inquiry of looking further as to where this money went and what was the involvement of the president. You know, when your son suddenly starts making millions of dollars and is clearly not in business and is taking it from foreign countries and you're vice president of the United States and then you're running for president of the United States, clearly that there's either he's complicit to this activity, or he's really just not paying attention to the real threat that this is both to our country and to the Biden family.
Congressman, there are so many threats to this country right now, and you're the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. You know better than anybody the kinds of threats we're looking at from, China, as well as Russia, as well as Iran. It has been more than 2 months since Hamas attacked Israel. And a new report in the Wall Street Journal is warning the U.S. is defenseless against a drone terrorist attack, saying that federal laws prevent law enforcement from effectively stopping these machines. FBI Director Christopher Wray testified about the terrorist threat earlier this week. Here's the FBI Director. Watch this.
I've never seen a time where all the threats, or so many of the threats, are all elevated, all at exactly the same time.
So, blinking red lights analogy about 9/11, all the lights were blinking red before 9/11. Apparently, obviously, all of us missed it. Would you say that there's multiple blinking red lights out there?
I see blinking lights everywhere I turn.
So, Mr. Chairman, what can you tell us about the potential of a terrorist attack on U.S. soil?
Well, Director Wray is sounding the alarm publicly, but certainly the intelligence that we're seeing, the intelligence he's seeing, indicates that this is a period of great threat. And when the director speaks publicly about this and he identifies the areas of threats, he quickly identifies the southern border and individuals who are crossing that border, who are unimpeded, who are entering the United States, who some have allegiance to terrorist organizations and groups. We have Hamas, Hezbollah, and ISIS, of course, calling for attacks against the West at the same time that Israel is facing Hamas in Gaza. This really is a very dangerous time, and it certainly is a time where we have to make certain that we're diligent to try to find these individuals and try to thwart their activity.
Well, I mean, are you going to hold the line for this administration in terms of changing policy at the border? It's not just, the fact that 8 million people have breached this country and are in this country on Joe Biden's watch. It's also the fact that we see that would-be terrorists are getting apprehended. You've got people on the terrorist watch list coming in, and then there's the Chinese nationals coming in, which is a complete mystery. These people are coming in droves. They're wearing collared shirts. They certainly don't look like they're running from, persecution. In fact, they're coming here, and according to Mark Green, the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, Xi Jinping is directing them to come to America, set up shop here, settle in, and then eventually act as saboteurs should Xi Jinping turn its guns on America. What's going on with an increase so significant of encounters with Chinese nationals who are largely military-aged men at the border?
That's why in the House right now we have made it the #1 priority that we get changes in border policies to close our border from the now 6 million people that the Biden administration has allowed into the United States. Speaker Johnson is currently in negotiations with the president.
And I said 8 million because that includes the gotaways. We've got 6 million that we know of,
so right
and then
now,
another 2 million of gotaways that we've seen on surveillance camera.
It is outrageous, and it's outrageous that the president would continue to defend these policies, and that the president would be holding back policy changes that would change. We know that this can be fixed. It was fixed under the Trump administration when we had Remain in Mexico policies. The barrier, the border wall was being constructed. There are ways to address this, and the president obviously is the impediment to this.
I'm going to switch gears and ask you about the FISA bill. The House Intelligence Committee unanimously approving a bill to renew the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA. The House Judiciary Committee, however, has its own FISA bill. Speaker Mike Johnson set up a floor showdown for the two proposals, Mr. Chairman. And I guess Jim Jordan's camp would say to you, do Americans lose their Fourth Amendment rights when they communicate with foreigners? Police need a warrant to tap the phones of drug dealers. Why doesn't the FBI need a warrant to tap Americans talking to foreigners? Tell us about your bill.
Well, thank you. And that's actually an incorrect statement of it, because the FISA, the Foreign Surveillance Act, only surveys foreigners located outside the United States. And you don't have a constitutional protection to talk to terrorists located outside the United States. Okay. When you communicate with terrorists outside the United States, and if we're collecting on them, then we're going to catch those communications. And of course, that's how we're going to keep America safe. And that's exactly how we do it. We follow ISIS, we follow Hamas, we follow Hezbollah, and people who communicate with them who are loyalists, who are planning attacks in the United States. We have that information then and can go to court then and get a warrant to go and prevent those attacks. But what's important is this bill, this FISA, our ability to have surveillance on Hamas, Hezbollah, and ISIS is expiring December 31st. We have to extend it. The two bills are competing. Unfortunately, Jim Jordan's bill expands the constitutional protections to illegal aliens located inside the United States and foreigners traveling in and outside the United States. We think that there is no need to expand constitutional protections to illegals who are in the United States. We should be concentrating on foreigners outside the United States and how they pose a threat to our country, and that's where our bill focuses.
But what about those foreigners? And that was the point in that question, which, of course, Jim Jordan's team will ask, and that is, if the foreigner that you want to tap into, that you want to spy on, listen to, if that foreigner is talking to an American, then the American gets surveilled, right?
No, see, so yes, that conversation, if you pick up the phone and call the head of Hamas, we're going to catch it. Now, if you pick up the phone and call Paul McCartney, we're not catching it, because we don't do foreign surveillance on Paul McCartney. We only do foreign surveillance on those individuals who are a national security threat. And that's why these tools are so important. But, Jim Jordan's bill, unfortunately, expands constitutional protections for illegal aliens that are here. The 6 to 8 million that you just mentioned, that the Biden administration has let into the United States. The Democrats have, for the longest time, wanted to expand constitutional protections to them in an unbelievable way. Jordan's bill, unfortunately, codifies that with respect to foreign surveillance programs. We think we should, keep it as it is. Let's have our focus be on foreigners, not in the United States.
Well, let me get your take. Go through some of the things, because we talked about this earlier. Go through some of the provisions in there that ensure that Americans' privacy will be protected, because a lot of people are saying, how are we going to trust the FBI now? We saw what the FBI did to Carter Page, for example, an American citizen, but he was working for Trump. He was friendly with Trump, so he was okay to put surveillance on, and they surveilled him, and then no charges were ever brought. It was clearly wrong what they did. They did the same thing to George Papadopoulos, I'm told. All the people who were connected to Trump. So how are we supposed to trust that the FBI is going to be on the level this time? Put in there some of those provisions that you actually have forced into this bill to ensure that privacy is protected.
Thank you, Maria, because this is really, really important. As you know, the FBI has abused the FISA process. We've gone in and in our bill, we have 40 changes that have accountability to the FBI, including 10 years of prison sentences, fines, and the like. But the biggest part is that we make it impossible for them to do to Donald Trump again, going into the FISA court and spying on his campaign. We make it illegal to use the so-called Russia document, the Russia hoax document, the dossier that was paid for by Hillary Clinton. That would be illegal to enter it into the court, and people will go to jail if they do so.
All right. We will leave it there. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for walking us through it.
Thank you.
All right, Chairman Mike Turner. We'll be right back.